Hey everybody, welcome to Classic Movie Gush. I am Clay Morgan here with Melissa Tagg, sleep deprived
Hey.
and giddy.
Yes, this is
It's
true.
okay. It's okay that we're giddy because we're talking about a pretty goofball troupe of actors. By the way,
Yeah.
this used to be called Classic Cinephile, and we were kind of like seeing how we might go about talking about old movies that we love on the internet. And it's been really fun, and now we're doing it more consistently, and we're going to call ourselves Classic Movie Gush because we tend to gush about classic movies.
That's what we do.
Although
That's
you might
definitely what we do.
disagree. You might disagree tonight, I don't know.
I can still gush about it. I just don't know as much and don't have as much to contribute to the gushing. I am
Well,
here to be educated tonight about our movie.
and our movie is Duck Soup by the Marx Brothers. Now, first of all, let's start off with who the Marx Brothers are because from my background, I've always been a goofy guy. I've always loved, old comedy. And now I'm not a Stooges guy. I never was really into the Three Stooges.
Hmm.
And a lot of people think like the Marx Brothers and the Stooges are all the same, but I really don't believe that's true at all. The Three Stooges were pretty much straight physical slapstick comedy. The Marx Brothers are very much about screwball dialogue and witty comedy and some ongoing shtick. So we are talking about Duck Soup. Now, you watched the movie for the first time?
I think I've seen it before, but it felt like the first time because I didn't remember much of it at all.
It was only the second time I had watched it. Now, I've watched probably all the Marx Brothers movies in my life, but I had not watched this one a second time, and some of them I've watched 2 and 3 times. But the reason we picked Duck Soup is because this is the one that always gets ranked the highest
Yep.
by the critics and the Roger Eberts of the world and all of that. So before we talk about Duck Soup, I think it's appropriate to let's see if we can run down. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Oh no, no.
How many of the
Okay.
Marx Brothers can you name?
Oh, I can totally name all of them, I think.
No way.
Groucho? Yes, yes, I can.
Okay.
Groucho, Harpo, Zeppo. Oh, maybe I can't. I don't know the last
That was
one.
pretty good. You came out on fire.
Yeah, I totally did. I
The
feel like if
Italian. Actually, the
Mm.
terrible Italian accent. Chico.
Oh yeah, I totally knew that. Kind
And the
of.
lesser known
And
Gummo.
yeah, I kind of knew that too.
Um, Duck Soup was the last movie with Zeppo. After this
Oh, really?
film, yeah, after this film, it was back to Groucho, Harpo, and Chico. They're the main three.
Right.
Everybody probably knows who Groucho Marx is, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's got like the whole novelty glasses made for his
Yep.
face.
Yes.
And Chico, like I said, he's the one who has that terrible Italian accent.
Mm-hmm.
And Harpo never speaks Harpo.
Yeah, he's the quiet one.
That's the thing. Okay, so I'm going to give you the simple task of
Oh no.
detailing the complex plot of Duck Soup.
I can't do that. I don't think I can do that.
I don't think anybody can do it.
Like for real, I have to do this?
No, I'm just messing with you. Well, that's the whole thing, right? Like, there's not a.
Yeah.
It's not like this is a well-structured story.
Uh-uh.
Um,
'Cause like there's a country and
Fredonia.
yeah. I know a fun fact about that. When they were originally like thinking about doing this movie, they were gonna call the country Amnesia, which is kind of funny.
That is kind of funny, but
Yeah.
you didn't forget that fun fact.
What? I did.
Well, get it? You didn't. I get it.
Oh yeah, now I get it.
That was a little.
I really am sleep deprived.
That was a water joke. It had to soak in.
Yeah, yeah. That had to soak in too. Um, so that's about as much as I know about the plot. Is that it's about a country and they
Okay.
like they like have a new leader
Yes.
because they're in debt.
So
And
they. That's right.
yeah, you should probably talk about it because
You
I'll
got
mess
it.
it
You got
up.
it. They're in
Okay.
debt, and so they turn to the female lead. Is played by Margaret Dumont. Now, the interesting thing is that she's in all the Marx Brothers movies. She's always the
Yes.
female lead, and God bless her because she just let them go, and she played the
Yeah.
straight man, the straight woman brilliantly. She's always the perfect casting in the Marx Brothers films. They
And they're
actually
kind
started.
of they're mean to her. They make all these jokes at her expense throughout the whole movie.
That's why I say God bless her. I hope she made a lot of money. The Marx Brothers,
Seriously.
they started in vaudeville. They were on Broadway, and then they eventually made the jump to movies. Groucho and the brothers, they famously lost like everything in the stock market crash of 1929.
Seriously?
Groucho was near suicidal at one point. He lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, I believe.
Oh, okay.
So they make a few movies. I think Coconuts was the first one, and Coconuts is not my favorite. It's kind of like funny, zany. There's some cool moments, but I watched it one time and then I kind of moved on. And in between Coconuts and this movie, there's some other famous films like Horse Feathers, and I think Monkey Business, Animal Crackers. I believe those are the titles. They always have like an animal name. And so I lied to you by mistake.
You did? No.
You might have realized this. I told you. You're like so worried. I told you that there would be Chico playing the piano and Harpo playing the harp.
Oh yeah, you did say that, and they did not do that.
Because that's what they do in every movie.
Right.
And it turns out that Duck Soup, which is every critic's favorite Marx Brothers film, they don't do those things. So that really confused me because it's so cool to watch Chico play the piano and Harpo. They were both self-taught. So like when musicians watch them play, it's like the most god-awful technique you've ever seen.
Oh.
But they were able to do it brilliantly with the way that they learned.
That's cool. I wonder why they didn't do it in this movie.
I have no idea. Now, there were musical numbers, like goofy musical numbers.
Yeah. I didn't realize there were going to be musical numbers either. That threw me off completely in the beginning.
Groucho plays a character called Rufus T. Firefly. And the first musical number is actually one that has maintained its popularity. I hear it all the time. It's about how he's going to like take over the country and ruin it and tax. Like it's anti-taxes satire, basically.
Okay.
And I guess this is what I've gathered. I don't know if you read up on it and found out the same thing. The reason that the critics tend to think that this movie is their best is because it's a satire of politics and governments, that it's somehow maintained this like timeless.
Yeah.
We can just as easily laugh at government today as we could then. Did you read anything like that?
I didn't read much. I mean, I read that it was a satire, and I kept trying to figure out is it like, is satirizing a word? What is it satirizing? Like, is that the right word for that? But anyway, like a particular time in government or a particular government, and I couldn't figure out like, it just government in general. It just seemed to be making fun of.
Yeah,
but,
and I think what they kind of always did, one of their shticks was they picked on the rich. They picked on the aristocrats. And that was why, like, kind of like Charlie Chaplin, like, every man, every woman can go root for them because they're going to kind of mock highbrow society. And I guess that's...
Yeah, they definitely did.
That's what they're doing here. Groucho said that if there was a political message, he sure didn't know about it.
Really? That's
what I read.
I did read that Mussolini banned the movie in Italy because he thought it was making fun of him directly.
Oh,
and
okay.
I thought that was kind of cool, you know.
Now, did we say what year the movie came out?
I don't think so, but I totally know that.
I don't know.
1933.
Oh, really? Was that early?
I believe. It was super early, actually, yeah. Yeah, 1933.
Okay. So then that was like right as fascism would have been gearing up in Europe. I could see Mussolini was in swing by then.
Yeah. Well, and it talks a lot about war and I think that's what else I was trying to figure out. Like, for that time in history, were they trying to say something about war, or was it, I mean, a particular war, or it was just war in general? That's what I think I spent so much time during the movie trying to figure out, like, what exactly are they trying to say? And then I got to the end and I was like, maybe they're not exactly trying to say anything. They're just being funny, and I should probably watch it again and stop trying to analyze it.
I think Groucho would agree based on what I read.
Yeah.
By the way, when they finally end up going to war, I do have to admit, it was really funny how Groucho's in a different period military uniform.
Yeah.
Every time they cut away
Every
and go
time
back,
they show him. Yes, that was awesome. I
At one
loved
point,
that.
he's in a Civil War uniform, and then they go back to him, and he goes from a Civil War Union to Civil War Confederacy.
Uh-huh.
That was a pretty good gag. I mean, the thing about the Marx Brothers, especially with Groucho, is the lines. There's so many
Yeah.
lines. I wrote down a
Yeah.
couple. This is the most famous one that I had always heard is when Margaret Dumont says, "This is a gala day for you," and he's like, "I couldn't handle any
Okay.
more than a gala day."
Yes. I like that one. I like the part where they're trapped or something and he says like, "We've got 30 men and a woman trapped. Send help. If you can't send help, send two more women," or something like that.
That's
I
exactly
like
the other line I was going to
that.
reference.
Oh, really? It's
And
random.
so okay, we obviously both caught that line because it's funny.
Yes, it's funny.
In my
Yes.
opinion, in the other movies, at least in Horse Feathers, maybe another one, I think there's a lot more good lines like that.
Yeah.
They did a film called A Night at the Opera, which I think I've watched like 3 times, and there's
Hmm.
really snappy dialogue. They were getting a little bit older. I'm sure the slapstick physical
Sure.
antics got tougher.
They couldn't do as much of it. That's kind of their other big famous one, isn't it? Like that one and then A Day at the Races. At least those
Yeah,
are the other
which
two that I'd heard of quite a bit.
yeah, and
But
then which one was they did a send up of Casablanca. It's funny by the way,
oh,
like we hear
really?
like scary movie and like parodies today. We don't think
Hmm.
that like they were doing that, but the Marx Brothers actually did one. I don't
Really?
know. I don't remember what it was called now, but there was like almost a lawsuit against the studio
Really?
over them
That's
like
funny.
mocking this movie. Now this movie
That's
Duck
funny.
Soup, it was the last film they did with Paramount.
Okay.
That was kind of like their big studio for a long time. But another reason that probably critics consider this the greatest Marx Brothers film is because of one signature scene, and it's the mirror scene, which is
Yeah.
pretty iconic. What did you think of that?
I thought it was awesome. I kept trying to figure out, like, I must not have been paying enough attention when the scene started because when it started, I didn't know which brother was which. And so then
Yeah,
the whole rest of the scene, I was trying to figure it out. But holy cow, they look exactly the same. Like, you
yeah.
can't tell which brother it is doing what. It was kind of amazing. I guess we should explain that scene. It's a mirror has broken, and there's a guy that's not supposed to. It's two guys dressed exactly the same. Well, actually, it's three of them eventually, isn't it?
Basically they're spies. There are two
Yeah,
spies who have
yeah,
dressed up like Rufus T. Firefly, and they're sneaking around pretending to be him. And when the mirror breaks, they don't want
yeah.
to be discovered when Groucho walks up to the mirror, so they have to mimic his every move,
Mhm.
and
It's awesome.
it really is a brilliant scene. You can see why that's. I had actually seen that scene outside of their movies, like before I ever knew really about their
Mhm.
movies. That'll pop up from time to time in kind of like the greatest scenes.
Yeah,
Pretty
it's
good
really cool.
stuff.
I like that scene.
Yeah, as far as the story goes, it's not like a traditional story where you're trying to like. There's no one to root for. There's no like.
Yeah.
There's no love story where you're hoping that they come
Uh-huh.
together. It's just pretty
Yeah.
much antics. And near the end of the movie, I wanted to ask you about this. There is a scene where
Mhm.
they show a bed. Like we basically cut to the bedroom,
Oh,
and now they're showing like various articles of clothing on the floor and a couple
yeah.
of shoes, and you're starting to think like, what is this? Like risque?
Yeah.
And then there's horseshoes,
Yes.
and then they show Harpo in bed with a horse, and like the horse is like laying there under the covers, and then Chico and I guess the female or whatever are over there. And like I thought that was so crazy. I never thought about that scene. I heard that was their way of mocking the Hays Code.
Yeah, I think I have a book just about Hollywood time periods, and it talks about when that code was first going into just kind of because they started doing that code in 1930, but it didn't become official till like 1934. This movie comes out in 1933, so it's just kind of becoming
Oh,
enforced
okay.
and a big deal. So they're making fun of it like right when it's starting to be enforced. And
Okay.
it's funny because there are a lot of jokes in this particular movie that could be like probably wouldn't have made it past the code, I bet. So yeah, I think they are just completely making fun of that.
Yeah,
But that's a funny scene.
they were products of their time. I will say this. I remember watching a Marx Brother film. I think it might have been Day at the Races. And there's this whole extended scene where they end up in like this real poor town, and it's all
Mhm.
black families living there, and there's this huge dance number, and it's funny and entertaining and everything. But there were some people who are like uncomfortable with it today with modern,
Hmm.
obviously, sensibilities. Um,
Mhm.
but from what I understand, Groucho was very much determined to, in that time, to not offend people based on race, and that
Really?
there was even a
Okay.
famous argument, apparently over something in Duck Soup. Now I can't remember what it was, or maybe there was like
Is
an
it
ongoing dispute with Paramount that they not belittle black people.
okay? There was a line in the movie where they call black people darkies, which is horribly offensive, and I wonder if that's what it was about. We could probably look that
Well,
up.
I think also in their big song number where they're going to go to war,
Mhm.
the three brothers kind of step up to the camera, and I forget what the line is, but it's from like a specific song that would have been
Mhm.
potentially. Again, I don't think Groucho wanted it to be interpreted the wrong way, but
Right.
again, with 80 years of hindsight, we clearly
Yeah.
have come a long way. But it is
Mhm.
interesting, when you watch old films, and we should talk about this in general. There are
Mhm.
sometimes scenes that make you uncomfortable, and you're like, oh man, it's such a time capsule of America, right?
Yep. There are so many movies like that. Even just watching like Gone with the Wind, where pretty much every slave in the movie is portrayed not really all that well. And yeah, there's so many
Yeah.
classic movies where you watch it and you're like, oh wow, it really was a different time period then, and that would not fly today at all.
Of course not. Yeah, we'll talk about these other social issues as they come up in movie to movie. Maybe you didn't expect it to come up in the Marx Brothers, right?
Yeah,
Um,
seriously.
so that's about all the time we have. I'm curious, for the people that are watching this video, do people know the Marx Brothers? I know that I am kind of abnormal in how much I am a fan of the Marx Brothers. So Duck Soup, have you seen it? Have you seen any Marx Brothers movie? And if you haven't, are you willing to check one out? I would argue you should check out like Horse Feathers. I'm a college guy, so I like it when he's a professor. There's one scene where he's basically forced to give the lecture to the entire class, and they're
Pretty
all in this
funny.
classroom setting. It is really funny. Probably some questionable jokes in there, but anyway. Um, let's see what people have seen about the Marx Brothers, and we need to figure out what movie to do next. So we're
Yeah.
always open to suggestions. We've seen some good ones come in. Some of them are already lined up in our queue.
Hmm.
But maybe if a number of people say the same movie, we'll like bump it up ahead or something.
We could do that. We're flexible.
This is classic movie gush. That's how we roll.
We do this for the people. So if the
Yeah,
people demand a different movie, we'll watch a different movie. So
right on, right on. All right, Duck Soup. Check it out. See you next time.